Thanks for joining. First joiner. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. My dog. Yeah, I got the flowers. I got a candle lit. This is a positive space. If you feel like you're going to be negative, please exit now. Thanks for the support. Thanks for being here. It's Friday. I know y'all ready to drink. Thanks for coming. I'm going live, Monet. I'm gonna make live be a cool thing to do. Everybody's gonna want to go live. Now I was doing some reading and going live. It really helps with your engagement. I'm here for it. Oh, Lord Howard. I'm not gonna lie, my heart is like beating super fast. I'm gonna tackle some things that, I don't know, haven't been talked about to anybody for a while. Hopefully you guys leave. Oh, I love you too. Hopefully you guys leave motivated, inspired, something. I'm gonna start in about 5 minutes. How y'all feeling? Y'all feeling all right? Good. Memorial Day weekend. Got a long weekend for you guys, huh? Few more minutes and I'm gonna start from the bottom. All the way from the beginning. I might not be able to read every comment. I don't have my glasses on. I don't want to be this person. But feel free to leave any comments. I think I'll be able to read them once I wrap up. I'm going to upload this video to my YouTube channel as well. Once again, I got the flowers, the candle. This is an intimate, vulnerable space. If you feel like you're going to be negative, please leave. I got the Q cup. Don't worry about what's in Q's cup. I'm gonna start at 5. 5 o'clock on the dot in my drop top. I'm really interested to see who is actually going to come to this. I know it's a Friday, Memorial Day weekend. Y'all probably getting ready to go out. But it's not about the views, it's about the content and about the substance of what I feel like I have to say. Raise your hand if you journal. Does anybody do any journaling? Write in your diary? LA traffic. Oh, don't get me started on LA traffic. If anybody know, y'all know I just can't wrap my head around LA traffic. Despicable. Follow me back. Send me a DM. Tell me a little bit about yourself. That's a topic I'm going to go on live about. The whole follow back, follower-following ratio, and how I try to go about it. All right, so I'll start. My name is Dequiante Brown. I know it's a tough name to pronounce, it's a tough name to have, but my mom gave it to me. I'm appreciative to have it. So let's start from the beginning. I was born in Houma, Louisiana. That's Houma. It's a small town, just an hour from New Orleans. I was born in a hospital in Houma, but I grew up in an even smaller town called Gray, Louisiana. Gray, Gray, Louisiana. In Gray, Louisiana, I grew up on a street called Willowdale. Me and my 5 siblings. I'm the youngest of 5. We got somebody loud talking in the... So I'm the youngest of 5. I have an older sister. She is 46 or 47. So just about old enough to be my mom. But she's fabulous. I love her to death. I have another sister. She is maybe 6 years younger than she is. Love her as well. They gave me plenty of nieces and nephews. I have a brother that is 4 years younger than she is. Super cool, love him to death, gentle heart. So my oldest sister's name is LaTanya. My other sister's name is Kiana. My brother's name is Lee. And then I have another brother, his name is Chance. That's my closest sibling. We grew up together. And then there's me, Dequiante. So yes, my mom went pretty creative with these names. I don't really see a big correlation between them, but she was creative. Yeah, we grew up on Willowdale, and Willowdale was definitely a street of black people. It was working class families that, worked hard to own their homes. And during the era that I grew up, it wasn't too bad, but during LaTanya's, Kiana's, and Lee's time, it was full of crime. It wasn't the projects, but there was crime, drugs, murders, and everything going on. But as I grew up on the street, it got better. It was a time in which we all went outside, played in the woods. I wasn't much of a gamer or anything like that, so I was always outside fishing, hunting, just living life, really. I had a friend. She was my next door neighbor. Her name was Giera. I'm not sure where she is today, but yeah, we used to have a good time. We used to always, I remember just like dancing, singing, and just using our imagination and being creative. But before then, even thinking about my childhood as far as like preschool age, I honestly don't remember much. I remember daycare. I remember Halloween being my favorite holiday because my birthday is October 23rd. Shout out to any Scorpios out there. I remember preschool, kindergarten, and I just remember like everything just being so simple and just really carefree. I didn't have many thoughts about anything, just living life and just being spoiled by my parents. I grew up with both of my parents. My mom was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana. My dad was born in Vallejo, California. My dad was actually kidnapped by his father when he was, I want to say 4 maybe. So he was actually taken from his mom and brought to Louisiana, and he didn't see his mom again until his adulthood. That's a bizarre story, but it's definitely true, and it's kind of crazy. So he met my mom in Hammond, Louisiana. They became inseparable by the age of 13, and from there they grew up together, moved around together, had 5 kids, and worked all their lives. My father was a welder. He became a bar superintendent, worked in the oil field. My mom, she worked in the medical field. She was a CNA. She owned her own healthcare business. And I think that's mostly where I get my drive to be in the medical field from my mother. I was definitely closer to my mother than I was to my father. Growing up with them, I don't know. All families have dysfunction. I think I remember a lot of fights. I remember alcohol being a big component of those fights. I remember having to choose between my mother and my father. And out of all my siblings, I guess I was the closest to my mother. So I remember being the only one to really go with my mother. But LaTanya and Kiana, they kind of grew up before I was even born, and they were out the house. So I didn't have too much time spent with them, but I just remember just a lot of dysfunction due to alcohol. With that being said, I think I leaned more towards my mother because my dad worked offshore and he was gone a lot. He would leave to go offshore for 3 to 4 months, and while on a barge, you can't drink. You just have to be really tuned into your job. So when he got home, he was definitely a drinker. He was making up for lost times. So I just remember a lot of aggression from him, and that just kind of pushed me more into my mother's hands. She was just like a lot more understanding, a lot more open. And yeah, I just think that I gravitated towards that a lot. And then when I think about how that had an impact on my life, I just think about how fathers really need to step it up. I Googled, basically, what does it mean for a child to gravitate more towards his mother than his father, and why does it happen? And from the Google searches and the readings, basically fathers are just not in tune with their emotions. They are very quick to anger, very quick to overreacting. And I definitely felt that firsthand. And I feel like now that I'm older, I kind of have some of those same attributes. And it's kind of hard to fight. It's a very troubling problem that a lot of fathers project onto their children, and I just think that fathers need to lean more into a mother's guidance and definitely just become nurturing and understand more about themselves. So going from there, I remember going into elementary. I remember being just a quiet child. When I talked to my mom, she says I was like extremely quiet, to the point I had to be taken to the doctor to see if I had something wrong with my ears or if I was going to be mute, because I just refused to talk. I would just point at whatever I wanted. She would get it to me, and she really spoiled me. I can definitely say I was spoiled as a child. And again, looking back on it, I think that has a lot to do with how I deal with situations today. Oftentimes I use my body language or just nonverbal cues to get what I want, instead of like speaking up for myself and vocalizing my emotions. I think that parents should definitely encourage their kids to talk out their emotions and just really pay attention to all these nonverbal cues and try to help them translate it into words. I definitely think I missed that as a child, and it definitely messes with me today. So I went to elementary school. I was a pretty cool kid. I remember specifically getting a gentleman award like in first or second grade. And I just remember being kind. I went to a Catholic school, so the principal, she ended up being my godmother, but she was a white lady, and she was just super kind to me. She used to always remind me to be kind and gentle and just to treat everyone correctly. So as I got older, in elementary school, I remember playing with my neighbor a lot, and I feel like that definitely shaped some of my feminine ways. I think from that interaction, I understood girls, I understood women, and I understood that they were more in line with, I guess, my sensitive ways. So from there, I just remember not being bullied at school, because sex or my gender or any of that was not really a thing at the moment. But I remember growing up on Willowdale, and I had to catch the bus to school, and we would have to wear a uniform, and the public school bus was full of public school kids, and there weren't many people living on Willowdale going to Catholic schools. So me and my brother were definitely in uniforms, and we were bullied quite often. I think the harshest bullying I received was from my barber. And it sucked because I had to go to this man every week to get a haircut. But every time he would see me, it was like the worst bullying that I could ever imagine a child to go through. He would call me gay. He would call me a faggot, soft, all type of stuff. And it was just I just endured it. And I didn't really even know what gay was or what a faggot was or just any of that. I just knew he was mean to me and I was something that he didn't approve of. And yeah, I think I carried that to school, and it kind of changed me. It kind of went from me being the gentleman and a kind and gentle person, making everyone laugh, into me making fun of others and basically just being as cruel to others as people was being cruel to me. And I'm a firm believer in hurt people hurt people. And I think that's a big part of things I deal with today. I don't think I am a mean person or just purposely malicious towards anyone. It's just that you react from what you experienced, and sometimes you get comfortable in, talking about people or making fun of others because, it happened to you and it happens all the time. And it's just it feels okay, but deep down it's really not. And I knew that, and I just wish I would have, held on to that gentleman spirit and that kind and gentle spirit throughout grade school. But for the most part, I was liked, and it didn't get too bad to the point where I was physically harming anyone or anything like that. But it was definitely a time. So going into puberty, this is when you start to realize what sex is, what your body is, and what does it all really mean to you. And for me, those playtimes with Giera turned into more sexual experiences. Nothing non-consensual or anything, but, kids being kids, touching and the sorts. But, nothing too crazy. But I do remember starting to notice my body more and realizing I was curious about how other people's body looked. And that was male, female, whatever. So it's when I started to notice more of what, everyone else's body looked like and then start comparing it to mine, I quickly became self-conscious. I didn't know, my mom didn't tell me that I actually had a botched circumcision. So my penis compared to other people's penises it was just different. I was just like, wow, like, I need to see more of what these other people's look like, and like, I don't see any that look like mine. So that kind of dove into this is super embarrassing to say, but it kind of dove into just like me researching like different penises, and I became, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I definitely Googled and saved and searched so many penises. And the way that I got found out was we had a family computer and I saved all these pictures of these penises, and the penises showed up on the screensaver. That was super embarrassing. And my brother, being the closest one to me, he took the rap for it. I can say that my brother was definitely a big brother, and he made sure that I was taken care of, that I wasn't, beat up or anything like that, or bullied to any kind of extreme. And I'm super appreciative of everything that he's done for me. And yeah, I think that kind of shaped my openness to seeing both sexes as interesting or something that I would experience. But still, I didn't think about sex with any guys or anything like that, or anything too deep. It was just penises. So from there, I remember playing like sports. I was extremely good in baseball. I remember playing the Little League World Series, first base, third base, every position except catcher, to be honest. Traveled with a lot of teams. I played basketball, football. I was pretty good in a lot of sports. And I got along with everyone. And there were still instances in which I guess I went from not talking a lot to not talking often to talking a lot. And I remember going from, being reserved to being almost outspoken. And it wasn't in the best way. I think I became like a smart aleck, became extremely witty, and just used my intellect and my words to really get my way out of things, to get people to do things, to just, using my words like a sword. And I think that still has a hold on me today. And it is kind of hard to shake because it's almost like a reflex. It's just, you use your words, you use your intellect, and it's powerful, and you know that it can hit people in the right place. And I'm not saying that that's right, and I hate that that is my reflex, but it's something I'm working on. So I remember, still not being bullied about any kind of sexuality or anything like that, but I remember going into high school. So high school, I went to a Catholic school that was predominantly white. There I played football, basketball, track. Football, basketball, and track. And I, again, gravitated towards the women and found myself hanging with more women than men, just simply because guys in high school were, how do I put it? They were definitely sex motivated. And at this time, I was still feeling self-conscious about my penis. So it's like, I wasn't too into wanting to have sex like all the time, but I did, have my experiences. And then I don't remember being bullied too much about that. I just gravitated towards the women because they just talked about more interesting things than sports and sex. And I played the sports, but it's like I didn't want to talk about sports. I didn't want to watch sports. It's like playing it was enough for me. I needed other stimulation as far as conversations and, what I learned. So that was, it wasn't too bad at Vanderbilt. I grew up around white people, so going to school with white people and dealing with white people it was pretty simple. I didn't know I was encountering racism when it was racism, but it didn't feel too crazy to be around white people until I got to 9th grade, and my parents, they paid tuition in installment basis. So me and Chance were the only two of my family to go to Catholic schools, and we both went to Catholic schools. We played on the same football team together, played on the same basketball team together. It was like all good. And we were like really standouts at the school, and we were like best in the parish, best in the district. But my parents, I guess they fell on some hard times, and they weren't able to afford to pay the tuition up front. So they were paying in installments. But then they started to become late on these installments. So the president of the school instructed the coaches to take my equipment so that I couldn't practice. So it's like I would go to the locker room and I'd be looking for my helmet or shoulder pads or something like that, and it would just be missing. So I'd go to the coach. I'm like, where's my equipment? I'm ready to practice. And they would be like, you got to go speak to the president. So I didn't have any idea what was going on. I was just seeing white people being mean to the black person. And I think that was the first time that I actually, scratch that. It wasn't the first time, because when I was at that elementary school, my classmates voted me to be king of a Mardi Gras parade. And they told me that it was actually a tie between me and this white guy. And because my conduct was bad, the white guy was going to be king and I was going to be captain. So they made me blow a whistle and dance in front of the parade. It's like when I look back on it, I think about it, I'm like, damn, that's kind of fucked up. It's like, here I am parading around leading the parade, dancing like a damn jigaboo. Anyway, when they took my equipment and said I need to go talk to the president, I just seen that as a personal attack. And from that moment, I kind of just raised my eyebrows, and the wool was kind of lifted off of my eyes as far as what white people are capable of and what intentions they have. So my parents didn't like this at all. I wasn't really deserving of any of that. So it's like, from there, they withdrew me from school. They withdrew me from the school. And by this time, I had met this girl. This was during Katrina. We met. She came from New Orleans, and she enrolled into the Catholic school I was at, and we became the best of friends. Found out our birthday was on the same date. It was just instant connection. Her family loved me. She loved me. We loved each other. It was great. yeah, so from there, my parents withdrew me from the school, and they told me I was going to move to Texas to live with my sister and go to a school out in Texas. But the girl I had met was like, no, we became like the best of friends. My family love you. You're basically like family. So like, you can't go. Like, we're going back to New Orleans. Everything's fixed after Hurricane Katrina. So you can enroll into St. Augustine Catholic High School and run track there. They have one of the best track programs, and it all sounds pretty good. And from there, I moved to New Orleans. I had been to New Orleans all the time. We used to go for Mardi Gras. I was pretty much back and forth from Houma to New Orleans. Like New Orleans was like my second home. So it felt right. It felt good. I moved in with them, and that was a beautiful time. They also owned a home healthcare agency, and it was a very successful home healthcare agency. So I left Vanderbilt in 10th grade and went to St. Augustine for 11th grade, and that was like a pivotal time for me because my parents just kind of, they didn't do it in like a mean way or just like abandon me or anything, but they let me go live with this family. And I seen them, you know, almost every other weekend, or, you know, not as often as I would living with my parents. So it was kind of like I was independent at this point. I had to become an adult, and I was just like handling things on my own the way that I saw that it should be handled. And yeah, I just felt like my parents were never really too protective anyways. Like, I used to stay out past the street lights, and, you know, I was never really a bad child. I used to get whoopings for like playing with fire, but you know, who doesn't play with fire? But it wasn't, I wasn't too bad. So they trusted me enough to go live with this family, and I went. This family was very well off. I didn't need or want for anything. They took care of me, and it was beautiful. I enrolled into St. Augustine. I ran track, cross country. I stopped playing football because at St. Augustine, they had corporal punishment. So we used to get paddled for just like anything. Like, if your shoes untied, you get paddled. If you're wearing the wrong watch or too many bracelets, like, take them off, you're getting paddled. My first time getting paddled was because I shot the basketball after they blew the whistle for PE to be over, and I got paddled. I was like, goddamn. So you could paddle for sleeping in class, paddle for not having homework assigned, just paddle. And like, this wasn't like a tap paddle or anything like that. These were coaches that were in the NFL. They played in the NFL, and they retired and became coaches at the school, and they would chalk their hands up before swinging the paddle. I've seen paddles break on people. So it's like they wanted to paddle us because we were too rowdy before a pep rally. And like, I don't know, it's a toxic masculinity type thing at that time, because I don't see how paddling or accepting to be paddled would turn you into a stronger man or any of that. So I was just like, no, like, I quit football. If these coaches are going to be beating the kids like this for whatever reason, then no, thank you. I'll take my chances just getting a scholarship off running track. So ran track, did pretty good. that coach, he was a good coach. He didn't paddle too often. He would actually like hit you on your knuckles with the baton or something else, but he didn't paddle too often. He didn't paddle me too often. But 11th grade, I was in a relationship with a female in 8th grade, 9th grade, but we didn't do anything sexual. But I think we really loved each other and we were there for each other, and it was a good relationship mostly until I wasn't having sex with her and she started to cheat on me with her ex. So rightfully so, she wanted to have sex, I didn't, so it was what it was. I did lose my virginity in 9th grade to the girl of that family. That was an experience. It wasn't a thorough experience, but it was an experience. So 11th grade, I finally got the nerve to tell my mom, like, I need to be, like, I don't know, something is wrong with my penis. I don't like it. What's up? And she was like, oh, I was, waiting for you to come say something, or the doctor said if, you felt some type of way about it, then it can be fixed. I'm like, man, this whole time, like, I could have been fixed and, like, doing my thing. Like, so 11th grade, I was, fun fact, I guess, circumcised. And, it took me out of school for like 2 or 3 weeks. And, I told people, I think I told them I got my tonsils removed or something. But, yeah, I got circumcised in 11th grade. They put me to sleep. It was a painful experience. Like, I was bandaged for like weeks, and it was just like, yeah. But the result now is I like it. So 11th grade, I got a girlfriend, and we were definitely high school sweethearts, if I ever knew what high school sweethearts were. She was just like very mature for her age, and just really thoughtful, really sweet, and just like everything that you would want in a woman. And I definitely didn't handle that relationship the best way that I could have, because, high school took over, popularity, and just being an ain't shit nigga. And yeah, I mean, she stuck by me all the way into graduation, and I had a girlfriend from 11th to 12th grade, and we broke up when we got to college. But yeah, she is still my friend to this day. She has a beautiful family, very gorgeous, and just, yeah, I wish I would have definitely treated her better in high school. But, high school was, again, not a time in which I was indulging in any kind of, I'm looking for some content clues of what you're making about the word circle. I'm just gonna like it. Trail, really, I'm talking about experiences and all kind of characteristics that form who I am today. And yeah, if you're just getting here, that's what that's about. So high school was a good time. I really did enjoy high school. And from there, I enrolled into college. So just a little backstory about the family that was doing well off, that adopted me. Yeah, they became my legal guardians. They were involved in some legal issues in which the home health care was accused of Medicare fraud for millions of dollars, and that was a tough time for that family and for me. And I can say that now everything is kind of back to a good place with them, and they were for sure my guardian angels when it came to just life. And I hate that some family members went through what they went through with that situation, but yeah, I definitely think that formed a lot of just my trust in people, and knowing that there are people out there that will look out for you and really treat you as their own. And I think that was it was a good experience. So I enrolled into Grambling State University on a track scholarship. As many of you know, college is a place where you really just dig into adulthood. And again, I was on my own. My parents came, they dropped me off at college and went about their business. And I was there to do what I had to do. So Lee ended up going to Grambling, Chance ended up going to Grambling, and I went to Grambling. So all three of my brothers, well, two of my brothers and myself went to Grambling. So at Grambling, that's when I leaned into my sexuality. And I think that was the pivotal point for all that I knew about what it was to be gay. And I feel like this is my first time on any kind of social platform saying that I'm gay or bisexual, whatever have you. I think bisexuals do exist. I find women just as attractive as men, and you know, there's nothing I can do about that. And then when it comes to being gay, I feel like I fit into a choice category. Because it's always a question of if someone chooses to be gay or if someone is born gay. It's just like, I don't think before the whole self-realization of my penis that I was thinking or attracted to men. So it's like, as time went on, I feel like I chose to start to experience. If anybody's in here that I am close to and you haven't heard me say that I'm gay, I feel like I owe you an apology. I hate that that's the way that comes off, but it's just like, we are close, so I guess as someone looking out, you expect someone close to you to share with you their personal experiences and their life-changing experiences. And I feel like being gay is definitely an experience worth telling your closest people. So if I didn't tell you, I apologize. Really, I really do. But I hope you can understand, because being bullied all your life and being told that it's not right and it's not okay, it's just like you're not forthcoming with that kind of information. So with that being said, you know, I wonder, does it give straight people any kind of relief to know that you're gay? Like, do you feel like weight is lifted off your shoulders? Anybody chime in on that? Because that's definitely a question of mine. It's just like, do straight people feel like do straight people feel like being told that you're gay, does it do something for you? Does it make you feel closer to that person, or what? Like, I don't know why people feel like that's expected to be told to them. And I think, I just think that the experiences that I had from not even identifying as gay and just like being judged for not watching sports or sitting with the girls or any of that. Like how I was just like so bullied and, tormented behind just having attributes of somebody that is gay. It's just like, I don't think that's right. And I think that needs to be worked on in the straight community as far as acceptance, people's personalities, and then their sexual preferences. It's just like, that's a tiring experience to have to constantly feel like you have to come out to your family or you have to come out to somebody. It's just like, be understanding and just like love people for who they are. As simple as that. So yeah, so college, I leaned into being gay. I didn't like the experience, to be honest. My introduction into the gay world was very catty, very messy, and I myself am a very sensitive person. I take things very personal, and I just don't think that's the mindset of gays when it comes to love and relationships. I feel like I feel like gays are just naturally promiscuous, and a lot of it is about sex. And whenever you form an emotional connection with someone, but they don't feel the same about you, it kind of just like drives you crazy. And that's how I felt in college. I felt like trying to force these emotional relationships with people that were just all about sex was just like driving me crazy. And yeah, I didn't really like that too much. So I myself just strayed away from any kind of emotional connection with guys and understood that it was all about sex. And that was fine with me because, yeah, I liked being with women because of the emotional connections that I formed. So I did form an emotional connection with another girl in college, in which I did feel like it was a very strong relationship. We're, I guess, semi-friends today. She also has a family, but again, I wish I would have leaned into that relationship as well. Funny thing is, she kind of outed me. She was at my house, and I had this book in which I felt as though it was responsible of me to keep track of the people that I had sex with unprotected. And, excuse me. And she found this book, and I saw her with the book, and I asked her to leave, and that was kind of like the fall of our relationship. But she outed me to like my track team and everybody, and told everybody I was gay. That was a tough time because some of the track guys really started to act different, and I didn't appreciate that, but what can you do? That's when I really thought about depression and how sadness can really take over. And I had my times when I was younger, and I thought about dying. I thought about suicide. I thought about all that because the bullying and everything was just like, I couldn't help it. It was just like, I'm not even sure why I'm being bullied, because I'm not gay. I'm not having sex with anybody. It's just, I'm more feminine than most guys, and the straight people just didn't like that, and it was a troubling time. So I feel like that depression kind of snuck back in college, and yeah, I dealt with it the best way I could. And when I think back to the way I was handling it, it's like I kind of cut a lot of people off. I, put up this guard, and I don't think that's the healthiest thing to do, because I had a nephew. Well, I had a nephew that dealt with depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, substance abuse, and I just didn't pay attention to the signs, and I kind of just threw up a guard against him, and next thing you know, he killed himself. So when it comes to mental illness, I am a huge advocate. I think that you should definitely talk to people. You should definitely do what I'm doing now, and just like go back into your life and just like recap, rediscover all the things that made you who you are, made you think the way you think. And it's just like journaling, writing, and just like reflecting. It helps. It's like you discover questions that you just need answers to, or that you want answers to, and you just shouldn't shut people out. You shouldn't. You can take it personal. It's kind of inevitable to not take it personal, but shutting people out and just like not trying to hear them out, not trying to understand them, is doing more harm than good. And I just wish I would have talked to my nephew more, understood where he was, and just put myself in his position and just listen. So yeah, if you're dealing with any kind of mental illness, and you feel like you need someone to talk to, and you don't think you have anyone to talk to, and you need an unbiased opinion, feel free to write me an email or hit me up. I don't mind talking to you. It's something that we all need to talk about, something that we all need help with. And yeah, as far as medication, if you feel like it's that dire, then you should definitely seek medical attention, because mental illness has been overlooked in this country, and it's you see the results. The results are these schools being shot up and grocery stores being shot up. All this is mental illness. You see it when you're walking on the street. It's just, it's beyond me how it's not the most talked about and advocated disease, because it's hard to fix. It's hard to understand. And I understand that, but that don't mean we should throw our hands up and just forget that it exists. So with that being said, college was a time in which I leaned into those relationships. I experienced myself, I experienced other people, and I graduated with a mass communication degree. I worked for a while. Didn't enjoy the mass communication field at all. It was super boring. I worked so many jobs. I've sold vacuums for Rainbow. I've sold speakers in Sam's. I was a lifeguard. I was a swim instructor. I worked with my dad on barges as a hole watcher for welders. A wealth of experience, a wealth of knowledge, and I think everything unfolded the way it did for a reason, and I feel like it definitely made me the well-rounded and knowledgeable person that I am today. And I just want to rebrand myself to be a person that anyone can come to, anyone could trust, and know that I'm being completely honest and truthful. So after working in the mass communication field, I decided to go back to school and become a nurse, because I enrolled into Grambling to become a nurse, but I changed my mind after freshman year when I had like a 2.7 and was like, I don't see this making it through nursing, so I'm gonna switch and do something easier and run track and be cool and dress nice and become a Kappa and all this good stuff. But that didn't happen. But I did graduate with a degree, and then so I went back to school to become a nurse. I was like, it's something that I really feel like I'm passionate about, so let me just go ahead and do it. So I enrolled into a community college, and I began taking classes while living in New Orleans. And I kind of lived with different people here and there, and then I ended up getting my own place, and still single. I stayed single for 10 years. I didn't entertain the thought of even being in a relationship because I just knew I just wasn't ready, or I didn't even understand exactly what I wanted and who I wanted it with. So from there, I met this guy on Grindr. We met and we were supposed to go to a hookup in which I was meeting with another guy, and he was going to come, and it was going to be like this group play situation. But the guy ended up being a catfish, and he saw the guy and I saw the guy, and I was like, no, let's not. So him and I left together. And from that moment, it felt right. It felt like he was someone that could possibly understand me, someone that can be genuine, someone that I can trust, someone that was fun. And yeah, I let go all those guards, all those thoughts I had about what relationships were, what sexuality was, and just dove into it. Of course, I still had my ain't shit ways, and I quickly got those in check, and yeah, we became pretty much inseparable. We moved in together. We went as quick as any gay relationship would. And we have been together now for going on 5 years. This relationship is continuously teaching me things about myself and what I know communication to be and what I know love to be. And, I still lean into those not so healthy reflexes. And yeah, it's something that I continue to work on, and it's going to take a long time to undo because they've been reflexes I've had for years. And I don't think anyone should be hard on themselves or hard on their partner when it comes to communication, because people go through a lot. Like, life is a lot. As you can see from everything that I've told you from the beginning to now, life has been a lot. So trusting people and just like the communication and interpretation of what someone gives you is just, it's a lot. It's a lot, it's a lot, it's a lot. I can't say it enough, it's a lot. So it's like, yeah, people get to their wits' end and they give up and they get divorced, but when I look at my parents, they've been together since they were 13. I remember all these traumatic experiences, and they're still together. And, they still have their times when an argument may break out or they may disagree, but at the end of the day, it's a foundation of love. It's a foundation of being there and knowing that this is the person that you choose to go through life with, and knowing that you have faith in who you chose to be with. And, sometimes people do make mistakes in who they choose to be with for whatever reason. But for those that know for a fact and knew for a fact when they chose to be with somebody, lean into that and remember that. Remember that you chose to be with this person for a reason. And you should do everything in your power to see that it works. Don't give up because the person gained weight or the person, is misunderstanding you. Even cheating or infidelity is like, if you can work through it and you can forgive the person and you feel like forgiveness is something that you're capable of, then choose forgiveness. Because my dad, he has an estranged child that I still haven't met. I have a sister here in California and I'm going to meet her soon. But yeah, my parents are my example of resilience and love. And I just think it's possible to really love someone unconditionally and to be a soulmate with someone. So regardless of the sex of that person or the dynamic of whatever it is, like love is possible. Love is true. And yeah, so from there I became a nurse. I worked for a hospital, and it was during the brink of the pandemic is when I finally got out of orientation, was able to take patients for myself, and that was a traumatic time. The pandemic has shaped our lives for years to come, and watching these like having to take care of these patients that were just like, I was in a surgical ICU unit, so all my patients were really like surgical patients. But once the pandemic happened, the surgeries were done. You couldn't have surgeries because of the high risk of infection and for COVID. So my whole unit was vented patients that had COVID and they had very little chance of surviving. And to talk to these families and to not have the best news every time they called was just really traumatic. And then my partner and I, we broke up. We just could not see eye to eye with the communication, and we felt our lives going into different places. So we decided to split. I took a assignment in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He moved to Los Angeles, and I went to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I did an assignment for 3 months at the worst hospital that could possibly be. No technology. Everything was just horrible. So as if I wasn't depressed enough, I put myself in a more depressing state by taking this assignment and putting myself inside of a hotel room in which I just went to work, to the hotel room, went to work, to the hotel room. So quickly became more depressed, but I stayed in contact with him and he stayed in contact with me. We had our ups and downs still while communicating, trying to figure it out. But eventually we decided to try to make it work. So I moved to Los Angeles, and it has been definitely the best times of my life. We are constantly working on our communication, but I know for a fact that this is someone I want to continue to have in my life, regardless if that's in a relationship or not. But yeah, so here I am, kind of just worn out from nursing and just trying my foot in everything else. I got into exotic work, shall I say, adult entertainment. And that wasn't, and I didn't fall into hard times and choose to do that, in which many people do. I just did it because it was a liberating thing to do, and I do it for free So like, why not make money off of it? But I quickly learned that that just wasn't for me. People are not trustworthy, and that is a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. But just know that if you are getting into that line of work, trust very few people, and just, yeah, it's honestly not worth it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. So now I am just diving into acting, and I feel like this journaling and rediscovering myself and putting it out there is a good exercise for me to get in contact and connect with emotions that I forgot about, or emotions that have been buried in different reflexes and things I try to bury from myself and from others. So just getting in contact with those and like owning those is the goal of what I'm trying to do here. So yeah, with that being said, I hope to continue to have your support when it comes to anything that I'm trying to do. I have founded a nonprofit organization. It's called More Than Millennials. I will get in more detail about that in later days, but it's a nonprofit organization that is targeted to bringing millennials, people in my age group, and I'm not discriminating against anybody older or younger, but mainly millennials, because we have kind of adopted this bad habit of being self-centered, and I want to bring us back to a place of altruism and to a place of charity. So I want to direct my age group to, and specifically Black people my age, to help Black communities in different impoverished areas, because racism is another thing that I feel like I'm going to talk about in another time. If you haven't read any of Dr. Claude Anderson's books, I implore you to do so. Dr. Claude Anderson has been an inspiration of mine when it comes to lifting the Black community, and I definitely think it's worthwhile to read and to understand his understanding of what it takes to bring the Black community back into a respectable area in the United States. So with that being said, I think that pretty much concludes everything I have to say. I have 11 people still tuned in. I appreciate you all for staying. If you stayed the whole time, you are great. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, DM me, or whatever, and I'll be happy to read them. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next week on Friday, or maybe Thursday, or I don't know. Y'all let me know what day probably works better for y'all, but I'm going to try to do this every week, and yeah, thank you, and God bless.